The reason why you choose to go to college today is a lot different than you think. A lot of people miss the target on the purpose of actually pursuing a college experience, a good college experience. A good college experience is something that is really subjective, but I think there is an objective view of how a good college experience should be. But in order to have a good college experience, in order to have a college experience that is beneficial to students, you need to have healthy and good habits. And so here are 5 great habits for students in 2024. The first habit is developing a system. But I'm going to give you a framework of what a system should look like of students who want to improve their grades and ultimately want to have the best college experience. In my opinion, the best college experience is where you are a top performing student. And so the first thing you want to do as a habit is to develop a system in which you have a longer study session of deep work that is coupled with your creative zone. Everyone works differently in terms of time. Okay, some people work better in the mornings. Some people work better in the afternoons. Some people work better at nights. We have all seen people who work efficiently in different periods of the day. So who are you as a person, and how do you work the best in what time? And so you have to figure that out for yourself. For me, I really work the best when the world is sleeping. I really work the best between the hours of 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. And knowing that everyone is sleeping around me and knowing that no one will bother me, no one will question me, or no one will bug me, I like working in the mornings. I just like to work immediately when I wake up. And I think Alex Hormozy has this great morning routine, and his morning routine is really simple. He wakes up, gets a cup of coffee, and gets to work. And I think that's a very simple way and most efficient way to start a morning routine. And that is actually what I did when I was undergrad. In my sophomore year, I wanted to have a very consistent morning routine. And so I started waking up at 5 a.m. and did college work between 5 a.m. and 7:30. And guess what? I became a top performing student. I had good grades. I had good grades in upper level classes. I also want to mention that Pomodoro technique doesn't really work only if that session is smaller. So I've seen like Pomodoro techniques as smaller as 25 minutes, and I don't think that is really beneficial for you, and it doesn't really give you the rewards of learning material, sitting through uncomfortable material for longer periods of time. I have never in my entire college career used a Pomodoro method that was as small as 25 minutes, as short as 25 minutes, as I should say. It just doesn't work for classes like physiology, biochemistry, neuroanatomy, when you have to go through pictures of these brain images, when you have to go through case studies, understand them. It doesn't just take you 25 minutes. It takes you hours. Sometimes it takes you multiple study sessions in one day to really, really get the benefits out of learning. And that is my advice. Create a longer study session that is fueled by your creative zone, where in the day you're most creative, and also make those sessions longer. Lastly, you also want to cut out as many distractions as possible. And there are a lot of ways to cut out distractions, but number one distractor in today's world is your phone. Unfortunately, I don't have my phone right now. It's recording me, but your phone is the biggest distractor. So whenever you're working in your deep work sessions as a student, you should never have your phone. In fact, I put my phone in the living room when I'm working. I don't even want to have that screen near me, because when you pick up your phone, it's really subconscious. And so even though you may think and you may say, oh, I have enough self-control to not pick up my phone, even if it's going to be on my desk. But in reality, you will at least pick up your phone once in maybe 10 minutes. For you, it may be 5 minutes. But when I have my phone on my desk, I always pick up my phone for like every, let's say, 20, 25 minutes. And I think that's a very bad habit. It's just a distraction. And I think going back to that Pomodoro technique, I think a Pomodoro technique as small as 25 minutes is just an excuse to maybe scroll on social media or do some mindless activity. Number 2 is acquiring knowledge. And acquiring knowledge is basically, I'm going to give you a evidence-based technique, and Ali Abdaal talks a lot about this. I'm in fact going to link 2 videos that has made me a better student in which I wouldn't be a PA student if I didn't discover Ali Abdaal. And that's why I attribute so much of my academic success to Ali Abdaal. So his 2 videos that were really helpful to me will be in the description. And so please check those out. But basically, acquiring knowledge is just a way to retain information during your exams most effectively. Active recall and spaced repetition are the 2 evidence-based techniques that I believe in. Active recall is just recalling information whenever you have that scenario of, let's say, an exam or, let's say, a lab exam. And then spaced repetition is repeating that a material enough times so that it's actually going into your long-term memory. And I use a digital app called Notion, where I use the toggle feature and, in fact, convert my notes, my class notes, to a question and answer format. And I can test myself based on the questions that I create from the notes from the lecture. And I think I've done this video on YouTube about how I got 3.83 GPA in undergrad. And so if you want to check that out, you can. I think I have laid my system out, and it's very similar to Ali Abdaal's system. And so you can check that out too. And spaced repetition is just trying to repeated learning, trying to repeat the learning process as much as possible. So when I said I used to question myself on the questions I created from my class notes from the lecture, I would do that multiple times in the week or in the span of 2 weeks leading up to an exam. I also want to point out that you need to learn from your mistakes. Whenever you're learning a topic or whenever you are learning a subject that is really, really wide. And learning from your mistakes could be in a variety of format. Whenever you're going through your notes and whenever you see there is a gap in knowledge, you're literally learning from your mistakes. You had a mistake of not learning anything efficiently, like a topic or a certain subject, or certain subtopic, and you're literally when you're going to Google or you're surfing through internet and you're finding resources about the topic you are less informed in, you're essentially learning from your mistakes. And so try to do that. Also, you can ask your friends, classmates, your acquaintances about the things that you are unsure of. And you need to learn from those mistakes. And during exams, whenever you get those graded exams back, and you try to go over the questions you got wrong, make sure you note them in your notes, because those questions will help you ultimately in your final exams, right? So that's how you learn from your mistakes. Don't be ignorant, and don't just brush off like, oh, I don't know this, or I will never know this, or I'll never understand this. Those things, when people say that, that's a sign of a weak mindset around learning. And so students need to learn from their mistakes. And again, this all comes back to like connecting the dots, right? Connecting the dots, you have to have a really a mindset that is directed towards learning. When a person who genuinely wants to learn something, they will try to connect the dots. And so I can give you an example from my undergrad. When I was taking a biochemistry class, right? So when I was taking general biochemistry, or actually general biochemistry 2, I love the topic of fat loss. And when I would come across something in my notes that I'm unsure of, I would have 3 different resources. I would have 3 different areas where I could look and gather information from. The first one would be internet. And so that's what I did. You have to learn about a lot of molecules and chemicals in biochemistry and a lot of mechanisms. And so YouTube is a great way to learn. Internet is a great way to learn. So that's the first resource. The second resource is just friends, acquaintances, and the people you see from day to day in your class, right? Those are great resources. You can ask people around you. You can ask people through a chat, a messaging, email. You can do all those things. We have lots of communication that we could do if you're unsure about something. It's only ignorant students who don't take those steps, and students who don't want to really improve. And then last resource is professor. And many of the students did not like our professor, but how I see this is like, if I don't like a professor, I'm not going to say, oh, I don't like the professors, I'm not going to go to that professor. That professor probably is your best source of information. If you don't like them as a person, that's fine. But I think if you look at a professor as someone who holds information that could pass it down to you, I think that's the biggest plus and the biggest resource, the most helpful and efficient resource you can have, because it does 2 things. The first thing it does is that you are reducing the barrier of approaching people you don't like and asking for help. And the second thing is, in the professor's perception, you are creating effort. And so they remember that. Lastly, use different resources, as I said. You can use all the resources I mentioned, but try to use internet as much as possible. It just helps you to acquire knowledge in the most efficient way. Number 3, network with high-performing students. And I really wasn't into this. Maybe it was my social anxiety growing up or during my first couple years of college, but I really started doing this at the end of my college. And I would have people around me who have gone through the same program as me or have taken the same courses as me, or any research they have taken part in. And so I would have that network around me. And this is also same with just connecting with different professors, because they are the ultimate source of knowledge sometimes. And so just networking around your college, around your university. And I could honestly say that right now, podcasting has also helped me to network with other like-minded individuals who are more successful than me. And so that helps out a lot. And learning different things about health, science, just keeping up with your knowledge on biology. And so going back to the topic, you really want to talk to people. If you have any background with social anxiety, I have made a couple videos on social anxiety. I hope you check them out on my YouTube channel, but you really want to work on that, because I think networking with high performing students, what it does is you are trying to be on the same boat with them, and that boat is sailing somewhere, and the boat is sailing to a destination, and that destination is high performance, and that is what you want. You want to be high performing. You want a high GPA. And if you spend time with nerds, if you spend time with people who know better about a subject than you are ultimately doing a service for yourself and for your mind. It's also not about taking something from them, but it's also about helping out. They will in turn ask for help if needed, and that is networking. It's like best parts of you are lending on to them, and you are taking some of the best parts of them and adding it to yourself. And so that's how I see with networking. And so it's acquaintances, friends, professors. LinkedIn is a great way to network also. And so try to network, because it could help you out in a project, a research paper, exams, etc. Number 4, substance abuse. I absolutely love this topic, and I might go in a little rant. But when you go to college, you are ultimately taking loans. Objectively speaking, that money is not your money. It's money that you took from someone else. And even if your parents are giving you pocket money, it's fine. Okay, let's say your parents are giving you $500 a month, all right? You have to use your money wisely either today or tomorrow, but you have to do it sometime. And it's just better that you start improving financial habits from day one. Essentially, in college, we have people who want the whole college experience. They want girls, they want vaping, they want alcohol, drugs in some instances. But those activities destroy you mentally. And then you cry about your mental health, and then you do the same shit over and over again. It's like a rat race. If you are into neuroscience, and if you have read any of the studies, if you have any of the studies on nutrition and neuroscience research on rats binge eating, you're basically like pressing a lever again and again and again to solve your misery. Your goal in college is to figure out what you want to graduate in, or what you want. Your goal in college is to figure out ultimately which boat you want to be in. Going back to that boat analogy. Do you want to be on a boat that is degenerate, that's not going anywhere, that's going to sail from place to place and not going to get to the final destination? Or do you want to be in a boat where you have high performing people around you and they all work together to get to one destination, and that destination is beautiful as hell? So it's up to you to decide which boat you want to be on. And I think the boat of the party boat, right? We'll just call this a party boat. A party boat that has a lot of partying, a lot of alcohol, a lot of people who just want to have fun, stay up late. That boat is going to crash. One day, it's going to crash. Nothing good ever lasts forever. And so I'm going to connect all of this in a second. But alcohol abuse is positively correlated to negative GPA. In other words, if you abuse alcohol in college, it is statistically proved that you will have bad GPA. We have that evidence. We have that evidence in research. And so I don't know which boat you want to be in, but I would advise you to start having a habit that does not have alcohol. Start having days and weekends where you don't have alcohol. Because what goes around comes around. One day, I had a physics exam. Before that, the night before that, I had drinks and I had a terrible hungover the day of the exam. I failed the exam. I got a 40%. That's the lowest I've scored in any exam ever in my whole life. From that day, I have never, ever touched alcohol before an exam, or even, I don't even know the last time I've had alcohol in college. I've been out of college for 1.5 years, so I'm not saying, I'm not including the time in that time period, but I'm saying I don't even recall having alcohol after that instance during my college years. The second thing is these academic performing drugs like Adderall. So a lot of people might be taking those drugs in order to enhance their performance. But the high performing students that I have been with, the students that I have been around, weren't taking any drugs, weren't taking Adderall. And they are in medical schools, they're in PT schools, they're doing research, they're doing this and that. Like, they are fine. They are for abusing a drug to perform well in college is just so stupid. You don't need it. You need evidence-based techniques like active recall and spaced repetition, and not some stupid pill that you will be hooked on. So those are my views on substance abuse, and I hope these are my efforts to bring awareness to students who are abusing alcohol. There's no reason you should be drinking alcohol in the first place. You're not using your money. And I think I'm just going to give it to you straight, or this could go to my younger self too. You're not successful, and you're not going to be successful if you keep abusing alcohol or any other drug. It's not a sign of success, and it's definitely a sign of misery. Number 5, recharging and relaxing. If you aim to apply the first 4 habits, then recharging and relaxing are really critical, because neuroscience research always backs this up, like how when you take enough breaks in learning, I'm not talking about Pomodoro method and taking 5 minutes breaks after 25 minutes of suboptimal focused work. I'm talking about breaks, meaning a day of break or 2 days of break, and coming back to that information, spaced repetition. I'm generally speaking in the light of spaced repetition. And so when you give yourself breaks in the midst of learning, you are reinforcing the circuits that strengthen the long-term memory. And this could be long-term memory in terms of storing the academic information or knowledge you're learning in college into your long-term memory circuits. And so I like to keep recharging simple. I only have 3 things here. I have sleep, I have NSDR, and I have exercise. So sleep, very, very simple advice. And I like to keep a consistent sleep-wake cycle, meaning, let's say my cycle is 10 a.m. to 6 a.m., or excuse me, I'm going to go back a little. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Every single day I'll sleep. And I won't let anything interfere with that. And so when you control for sleep, let's say you go to bed at 10 p.m. every single day and wake up at 6 a.m. every single day, even on the weekends, that cuts out partying. That does not leave any room for staying up late, watching Netflix or scrolling on your phone, and doing any other thing. You can insert any other thing that happens at night on your phone. So, and then lastly, and then actually the second part of this is NSDR. And so NSDR, Andrew Huberman talks about this. And NSDR is basically like closing your eyes and just resting and laying down. And if you fall asleep, you fall asleep, you have a nap. And if you don't, you don't. So I like that, because sometimes what happens is when I try to take naps and I only give myself 10, 15 minutes, like that stress of just, oh, will I be able to fall asleep and still have a good nap of 10 minutes just messes my head. So I like NSDR. So basically you are like kind of semi-meditating and like kind of telling your body, hey, if you go have a nap, it's fine. If you don't, you don't. So I like NSDR for that matter. And it just refreshes you a lot. And lastly, I have exercise. And so I love exercising. People say, I don't have enough time to exercise. It's all your priorities, and you can always work around it. Once you have the momentum in exercising, you feel like exercising is the best thing ever for your mental health, physical health. And I also believe in, if you keep yourself healthy physically, then you will be healthy mentally. It will fuel all aspects of your 4 habits, right? So you will take everything seriously. And the most serious part is when you start incorporating exercise, you take on a different identity. You take on this different identity. I exercise. I am a healthy person. So you start to cut out any alcohol. You start to cut out vaping. You start to like cut out different things because your identity is changing. And so that is why exercise is powerful. It's really underrated. And I heard this, I saw this quote. I should credit this person. It was on Instagram, but in today's world, a 20-minute walk is called an exercise. We are so sedentary. And I'm so sorry I didn't credit this. I will definitely try to put it in the links in the description if I find it. But if anyone knows about this quote, or if anyone knows the person who wrote this post, please let me know in my Instagram DMs or anywhere, comments below, if you are watching this on YouTube. And so I'll say that again. The society is so sedentary that a 20-minute walk is considered to be exercise. So those are the 5 habits of high performing students. I have implemented all of them. I currently implement them, all of them, even after college. I'll be starting grad school, and I cannot wait to show you my journey and my progress throughout this. And I will also implement and keep implementing all these healthy habits in my life so that I can keep bettering myself as a student in 2024. I hope you like this one. I hope to catch you in another podcast or a YouTube video.